Great to see everyone here. Thank you for coming. Welcome to Glen Burnie. This is our 6th, or is this our 7th, of 17 small area listening sessions that we're holding throughout the county. We are pleased you could make it with us this evening. And for those who are watching on video, good evening or good morning, depending upon what time you're watching this. My name is Phil Hager, and I have the honor of serving as the Planning and Zoning Officer, and we're glad that we have this opportunity to participate in these meetings. It's a great chance for us to hear more about what it is that's important to you and many of the issues that you would like to see changed, some of the things that you'd like to see maintained, etc. Tonight I wanted to begin with a few introductions. We have 3 members of our Citizens Advisory Committee: Elizabeth Rosberg, Will Shorter, and Patricia Hooker. These folks have given generously of their time to help make this process possible, and we really do appreciate having them here tonight, and we appreciate the fact that they volunteered for this job. If you'd have known what you were going to be getting into, you might not have done that. Is that right, Will? Also with us this evening, I'm going to be calling on her shortly, your councilwoman, Allison Pickard, and her aide, Kristen Heitzel. There's 2 gentlemen with us this evening to help make everything possible. They handle our sound system and all of the facilities for this event. Dean Adams and Kenny Naylor. Thank you, gentlemen. From the Office of Transportation, Director Ramon Robinson. Thank you for coming, Ramon. So, we have an interesting job as planners, and every day on the way to the office I make a bet with myself, who's going to be the first person that yells at me? Is it going to be a developer, a natural resource person, a citizen? It's challenging trying to make everything balance, and as a planner, that's what our job is, trying to make it all work. The whole definition of sustainability is making sure that what comes out is a balanced product. Your resources needs can't exceed your supply. Interesting mix, interesting profession. It certainly keeps us hopping and makes life worth living. But one of the things that helps make it a lot easier for us is having a county executive that understands what it means to be a planner and understands what all of these processes should do when they're working properly. He certainly adds to our list of tasks, which also helps keep things interesting, but he understands and he's certainly supported us. He was not able to be here this evening, but the fact that he thinks that this process is important, he made a video so he could send you his comments this evening himself. Without further ado, here's our county executive. While they're working on that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce some of our other staff who are present. Cindy Carrier, Lynn Miller, Patrick Hughes, Jean Tinsley, Stacy Paulus, Kiana Haley, Saiful Allen, and Andrea Gerhardt. Thank you all for giving of your time this evening. We appreciate that. So, we're still working on the video, but what we want to go ahead and do while we're still working on that would be to go ahead and introduce your councilwoman, Allison Pickard.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. Thank you to all of the auditorium tonight. It is really exciting to have everybody here. Serving as your council member is a tremendous honor, and we have an exciting time in front of us. I'm really looking forward to this Vision 2040 and figuring out how we can look at our town center and the greater Glen Burnie area, as well as the Old Mill and Severn area, and bring us into the next century together. I'm really, really excited. So coming from an education background and rounding out my experience with gathering folks around PTAs and education topics to the environment and land use has been and will continue to be a great challenge, but I am up for the task. So thank you for being here, and get your friends to get on the website, and maybe Mr. Hager can talk about how folks that aren't here can still engage with this process, right?
Absolutely.
Back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Councilman. We appreciate having a very energetic and highly educated council, and they ask lots of questions. And your councilwoman asks some of the best questions. It really does help make our job a lot more interesting and a lot more rewarding. It really, I don't say that with any humor at all. It's important. I am told that we may be able to take 2. All right, let's see.
Welcome to the Planning Department's Small Area Visioning session. I'm sorry that I'm not there with you. I'm making it to most, but there were a few evenings that I just couldn't attend, so decided to do this little video so that I could be with you on the screen. I just want to thank you for coming, because this process that we're going through for Anne Arundel County is probably the most important thing that we do this year, maybe the most important thing that we do during my whole 4-year term. It's the 20-year General Development Plan. And a lot of you said during the campaign, and you say all the time, that we want community-driven planning. And it was 17 years ago that we did the small area plans for Anne Arundel County. And you'll see, or you probably have already seen on the wall, the update that we asked for to let people know what proposals were implemented in the small area plans that your neighborhood did 17 years ago, and to let you say whether or not you think those are still important. And I know it's difficult to read all that detail on the wall, but I hope you will. It's important to know how you feel about what was said in the past, and to look at whether or not those proposals have been implemented. I also want you to know that I've been listening to what you've got to say in neighborhoods, and the General Development Plan and this small area visioning is not all that we're doing. We're looking at legislation that's going to give communities, especially when they're organized in groups, a little bit more influence and power over the process of what gets built and what gets developed in communities. So we're working on the issue of standing so that organizations can actually intervene in the hearings and play a role. We're also working on software that will allow you to go on a map and click on a site, a development site, and be able to get all the information that you want about the application and what stage it's at and how to intervene. And that's going to be very important. We're going to have training sessions around the county on how to use that software once it's ready to roll, and that can't come too soon. We're also looking at forest conservation bill that will help make it more difficult for developers to take down trees. We're looking at the adequate public facilities laws and whether we can strengthen those for school capacity and road capacity where development takes place. And we're looking at how we do modifications that the developers ask for when their project doesn't quite fit the rules. So we're strengthening the way that we handle modifications on environmental issues in particular. So all of that we want you involved in. It's in addition to the whole general development plan and small area planning process, but it's really designed to sharpen the tools that we have for citizens to be engaged in the process. I want you to also know that this is not your last crack at this, that this is just a visioning session so that we do one check-in in each of the neighborhoods, ask you also about the boundaries of the neighborhood, whether you think it's appropriate, but that after the general development plan is approved by the county council, we're going to start all over again, and we're going to do full small area plans after the general development plan. So there will be general principles for the county that I hope you'll be thinking about. It'll be in the general development plan. One of the things that was very exciting for me was about 3 weeks ago. Maybe by the time this video is done, it'll be 4 weeks. But we did a kickoff meeting, and we had about 2 weeks notice, and 240 of you showed up, citizens, to talk about the General Development Plan. And we brought in an organization called Smart Growth America, and they did a briefing. It was past Governor Glen Burnie who started this, where people talked not just about what we don't want in our communities, which is what a lot of us focus on, but also a vision for how Anne Arundel County can still grow while preserving open space, preserving the natural beauty of the county, and making sure that we have the infrastructure we need before we build all that other stuff. So we obviously in the county have huge traffic problems because we failed to build the infrastructure. In fact, we failed to charge developers the impact fee that would have paid for the infrastructure, especially on roads, and we're working on that. We're working on that in the budget, and we're going to create a new fund for infrastructure, and we have to catch up in Anne Arundel County. I know how frustrating it can be to be a citizen or a member of a community group that's trying to have influence over what goes on in your community, and I just want you to know that we understand that. We're doing everything that we can to make the process more user-friendly, and we don't want you to give up. You need to stay involved, so thank you. This is important. I hope you get engaged. I hope you have fun. I hope you all get along and all agree with each other, and I wish I was there to join you.
Good evening. I think I'm on. Good. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rossborg, and for those who are watching TV, I've become a little bit more self-conscious about this now, so I want to make sure that I speak loudly enough for them to be able to record and hear it. I happen to be the chair of the CAC, and so I thank you all for coming out this evening. We appreciate it. It really does make a difference for you all to get involved. And we appreciate you taking the time to do that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This will not be your last opportunity, as the county executive alluded to, for you all to see or to tell us what you think about. You'll have an opportunity to see the draft of the plan, and then you'll also have another opportunity to comment on that. We'll have other town hall meetings and be able to give an opportunity for y'all to comment as well. So, Allison had mentioned, I want to make sure that I tell you that for those people who are not here tonight, everything is available online at www.aacounty.org. At the top, you go to Planning and Development. It comes down, and then the first tab will be Plan 2040. And so all the surveys, all the information is on there. You can also email me at plan2040@aacounty.org as well. And that will be answered, I promise. With any questions or comments, it'll all be recorded. So I want to make sure that we clarify that for those people who aren't here, they still have an opportunity to participate. And we highly encourage everybody to participate. So thank you. So we wanted to start with you telling us what is special about your community. What do we need to know about Glen Burnie and the surrounding areas around here? And this is where you get to talk and we get to listen. So if you would tell me why you chose to live in this area. Who has a comment of why you chose to live in the area? Come on, help me out here.
Sorry, Bernie Robinson, citizen, Anne Arundel County, Glen Burnie, Maryland, Fox Chase community, locally, on a micro level. What really drove me to have roots here was a couple of things: the wonderful citizens, and the diversity and harmony of the citizens of this fine community of Glen Burnie, but also the many waterways that are part of this area and how important those waterways are to the future of not only Glen Burnie, not only the county, not only the state, not only the country, the whole world, and how important that is to the education and subsistence of people to be able to obtain food through fish resources, not to mention commercial fishing that can be shared by all. And secondly, B&A hiker-biker trail, where everybody's a friend, everybody waves going by, and everybody does everything on there. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes, I will, definitely, because I believe you've been to one of these other ones before, am I right? I'm sorry? This one. The kickoff, Annapolis. He was there in Annapolis as well. Okay, so see, I remember that friendly face. So we appreciate it. Okay. How about anybody else? Yes, sir.
Personally, I don't live in Glen Burnie, but our church is here, our business, and we are here. And what drove me to Anne Arundel County will say God did it. But the question is dealing with the youth, more so youth groups. And I found out in this, even our old church was in Poteet Street, and we had most people from Glen Burnie come. But the problem I see, especially with the youth groups, there is no activities in anything to keep them busy. So we have a church and community center. So my target group is from the 9 to the 35-year-olds, and give them life teaching from a faith-based perspective, keep them busy. We have movie nights, we take them out to Disney on Ice and all events. So we look for partnerships and going through Walmart, we get book bags out just to help the parents. But I see that we got to keep children busy because of the opioid crisis, of all the alcohol use, and as me being a pastor, and I always say, I'm not a pastor, I'm a father. And I think that we need those parenting I'm more edgy and being real and honest with young people, because that's what they need. They need relevancy, they need transparency, they need to see our hiccups, our mistakes, because they think, you never did nothing when you're older. I'm a survivor of being a teenager and a young person. So you gotta give, I think that this next generation just don't have the rule books. So I'm just here, and we are in Glen Burnie, and we're on B&A Boulevard, and we're here to make an impact in the community. We're here to help. We're here to be servant. Well, I'm here to be a servant to the community. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Thank you, because it does take a team effort, and it does take everybody getting involved to take care of everybody. So that'd be good. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Beth Behagan, a lifelong resident of Glen Burnie, and with Glen Burnie Improvement Association. What I love about Glen Burnie, my grandparents moved here in 1940, and our family has been here ever since. So it's a sense of community, it's a hometown feel for me, and we just want to do what we can to keep this community feeling that way.
And thank you for volunteering to be a president of a homeowners association or improvement association, I know. Well, you're involved, so we appreciate that. Thank you. We appreciate that. Anybody else have anything to add? Okay. Then what has changed in the last 15 years? What have you seen that has changed? And I can bet probably the first word. Well, let's see, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 letters, begins with the T, ends with the C. Everybody's shaking their head for those on TV. Increase in traffic? Yes. That's the #1 comment that we get, is increase in traffic. Okay, besides traffic, what else have you seen changed? Have you seen BWI expand? Yes, BWI expansion. You've seen the expansion of the bike trail, which is good. Can be good expansions or good changes, it can be bad changes. It doesn't have to be all anything else. What else have you seen that has changed? You've been here a long time. Yeah? Okay, she's going to be able to tell us what's changed.
Hi, I'm Candy Fonson. I live in Glen Burnie. I think on a positive note, we've seen the expansion and improvement of Baltimore Washington Medical Center from just a small local hospital to now something of substance that we know will get quality of care. And on a negative, the amount of vacant buildings that we have. Our developers seem to think that by creating new buildings and building that way, it's going to stir the economy, when in fact we still have all these vacant buildings that are just a blight on the community.
We appreciate that, so, and we have heard that, and there is definitely some big incentives for revitalization and trying to do that, because sometimes it is easier to start fresh than to revitalize, and we don't want that to always happen. Bernie, right? Yes, sir.
The major mall in this area 15 years ago was Morley Station Mall. Very vibrant at the time, very busy, had a lot of businesses and helped drive the economy, jobs, entertainment, and in 15 years it's kind of like the white elephant of Glen Burnie. I think the potential is extremely high with that location and the structure that exists there, but I think it's something that could be further enhanced or tapped. Thank you.
And I know that that is in the plan, or to be planned, to be addressed, I guess is what I should say. So, we don't have the exact details yet. So, but we agree with you, and that is something that definitely can be brought back to life. What else? Anything else that I'm missing? Growth in general. Residential growth in general. True. Lots of new homes. So, and infill? Probably? Development in general. It's turning over the farmland is what she's saying. So I want to make sure everybody who's watching can hear that. So, what needs improvement? We talked about traffic. But with that improvement, have a suggestion, please.
So the 2004 small area plan contained studies and designs to finish the revitalization in the downtown Glen Burnie area. But none of that has been implemented. We think the time is right to look into moving on this. A lot of millennials are moving into this area, and we don't have what they are looking for. No one wants to go to the city to eat and socialize anymore. They want to do it here. And they're finding that difficult. So we need to revitalize that area. We need restaurants, a coffee house, a pub, a wine bar. We need to get, we have the chain restaurants on Ritchie Highway, but we don't have anything on the Crane Highway corridor. And that's where the millennials are moving back into with their families. And they're used to walking. And it'd be nice if we could have places for them to walk and socialize and, enjoy their community.
Perfect. Good idea. We have the people here tonight that know exactly how to make that happen. So, what other suggestions?
A terribly simplistic problem and readily addressed as well. There's too much trash, too much pollution. Get rid of the plastic bags that are hanging from the trees, that look disgusting, that detract from the beautiful community that we live in, by eliminating plastic bags in general and going to using recyclable grocery bags, etc. Very simple to resolve.
I believe that process has been started.
Moving back to one point, as when we say vacant buildings, our church was a vacant building we used from the county and we revitalized it. So now we needed our church and community center, which was the old dog pound. So it works when faith-based or any nonprofit or any group can take that same property and use it, and if it's surplus property and no one uses it, it's going to sit and rot. Because I've been in building maintenance for 24 years, and once a building sat for 2 years, it will decay. Buildings like life, you got to keep it moving, you got to keep it vitalized, and a lot of buildings, and even in Anne Arundel County, is dealing with that. You got about over 300 buildings that's vacated, and then developers don't want to tear down because it costs too much to tear down. You got asbestos, and then you got to deal with zoning, and you got to get a rezone, and so it's easier to just start new, but your taxpayers are paying money for these properties just to be maintained. So.
Good point. Good point. We appreciate that. Good point. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Bernie Robinson and Glen Burnie from Glen Burnie. This is serious at what I'm going to say. What's the big toothache in this county that's costing us as taxpayers? Pollution, right? Our polluted waterways, right? So public education is what's needed to be improved. The county needs to educate the citizens about what happens when they're fertilizing their yard, and that not only farms, that's what gets all the publicity. The Eastern Shore chicken farms, right? They're the bad guys. Every homeowner that's putting fertilizer down on their grass, and then we get record rainfalls and are expected to have more, need to think twice about what is civilization really about. Is it having a homogeneous weed of grass? Is fertilizer really needed? Or maybe there should be a cost for the abuse of polluting the waterways, which costs everybody in the long run anyways. So I think if there's more education of the citizens along those lines, it would help in many ways.
Good suggestion. Thank you. What would you like to see your community look like in 20 years? We had some suggestions over here about mixed use, I believe is the correct terminology that you're thinking of. And what about with traffic? Do we want more park and rides? Do we want more with the light rail? Do you want more HOVs, bike trails? Help me out here. What do you want your community to look like in 20 years? I'm going to start back here and work my way up, so get ready.
Uh-oh. I'm the person that doesn't travel very much, so I'm probably a poor person to have to answer. Not being very into the exercise, I think bike paths would be great as an alternative way to travel, as a way for our families to get out, enjoy some of the green space. Park and rides, I think, would be a fantastic idea to alleviate some of the traffic that we see on 97, 695, and some of the major roads in the area.
Even so, what about your community in general? What about taking away the traffic aspect of it?
I think that's virtually impossible. We're never going to eliminate the traffic.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard to, for me at least, to envision an area where we have minimal traffic in our particular area, downtown Glen Burnie. Where do we find the improved roads? How do we widen Crane Highway without losing some of that historic area, without encroaching on residents' property or eminent domain? The same with Ritchie Highway. It just becomes a speedway at that point. So I think for the small town aspect, it's difficult to find reasonable improvements that are going to be adequate for what we need to.
You would like to keep your small town aspects, though.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. So.
Can I answer the first question last?
Sure.
I was born here, and I was raised in the Poconos. We came down here every year on vacation, and I swore this had to be the worst place on earth to live. And I don't mean that in an offensive manner. As a kid, where I grew up, still in 2019, we don't have a red light. So I'm from the middle of nowhere. We had bears that walked into our kitchen, and I just couldn't imagine living where there's buses and airplanes, traffic lights. And I came down here, and young lust brought me here and made me stay. That ended very quickly. But my love for Glen Burnie grew at that point. I can't imagine a place where I felt a better sense of community, that I felt that my children were safe here, that I could feel comfortable in them walking to a neighbor's house to play with other kids, the sports that were offered. So there's my question number one.
There you go.
Well said. We appreciate it. Anything to add? What your community, what you would like your community, this community to look like in 20 years? Ladies, before I walk over here. Okay. Yes, sir.
Well, I think we need more youth centers and community centers for kids to congregate and to be educated in. I think the lack of having community centers, especially from the inner city to the county, because out here in Anne Arundel County, kids just don't have anything to do. And if they have even some kind of public transportation for even where kids can get to some of these centers to get them there if the parents can't take them, that would be ideal so we can get them out, especially latchkey kids or kids when they get out of school from 3 to 8 at night or 7 at night. That's where all the going on is happening. So I think if we have some kind of centers that's not just for education, but having youth-oriented programs and deal with the social issues, social and emotional issues, I think it will help every city, county out a lot. So.
Thank you, sir. And before I forget, because we talked about transportation, hopefully you all are aware that Move Anne Arundel, which is our transportational functional master plan, has been put online in draft form, available for comments. And I believe the comments end, we'll say June 15th-ish. So please look at that online, aacounty.org, and then under the transportation, first tab under transportation, and you can put your comments in there about what you would like to see changed for transportation options in Anne Arundel County, specifically here in Glen Burnie. And you'll see what the proposed changes are already. And if you have comments, we appreciate them, and send them out to your parishioners, send them out to everybody, share the link, because we need people to give us their feedback on that. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Bernie from Glen Burnie again. See, because you asked to call me the first time, now you're getting paybacks. I'd like to see more green canopy cover in Glen Burnie. It's multi-beneficial, visually appealing, helps clean the air, cools off the place. It's just healthy to have around. So more trees and more local versus invasive canopy coverage. And that includes adding plantings on buildings, on the sides of buildings, on rooftops. Okay, including potential gardens, food production. Not to mention solar panels. I think both businesses, homeowners, as well as public buildings should be utilizing more of solar power.
LEED buildings, which are the high energy efficient and everything else. It takes a lot to have those, but we have several, I don't know how many hundred of them in Anne Arundel County already. So we appreciate that. Okay, did I miss anything?
Give us the website one more time.
Website one more time, www.aacounty.org. That was God speaking in the back. www.aacounty.org. And I encourage you to go to the website in general and just look around. We have wonderful GIS maps and all sorts of other resources on that website. So you can zoom down to the street you live in and find out where the water line goes and one thing or another. So we encourage you to use that website. But also to email me at plan2040@aacounty.org with any questions, problems, concerns, comments, anything you're driving home tonight you forgot to tell us, please, please, we are here to do this plan for you, the citizens, and we encourage you to let us know what you think it should be. Thank you. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. Take care. Safe travels.